I'm still not entirely convinced I like this. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So good to have you here tonight. So a couple months ago, I want to say, I did my very first vegan meal prep video for you. And I just prepped out 2 days worth of vegan meals. So that means breakfast, lunches, and dinners for 2 days. And I filmed it for you because I thought that you might enjoy it. And holy guacamole, dude. Like, you guys really enjoyed it. It's my most popular video. So I thought, why not do another one for you? Because I'm always meal prepping. It saves me time. It saves me energy. It saves me money. I just love to have things ready to grab and go when I'm, working a bunch, and it's just a lot easier to not have to think about where am I going to get like a healthy vegan meal because it's already prepped out, and like I said, it saves me a lot of money. So as I previously mentioned in my last video, I have completely eliminated gluten and soy also from my diet just for a little bit to see if possibly my eczema is tied to an unknown food allergy, because you guys know that I get really bad eczema. I have it on top of my hands right now. I have it like absolutely everywhere. It's just so freaking annoying. And so I'm trying to eliminate gluten and soy from my diet as well, just to see if somehow it's tied to my eczema. So this particular video is going to be a meal prep video that is not only vegan, but it's also going to be gluten and soy free. So that's a lot of criteria to tick off, but I'm gonna give this a go for a little bit, and all of these recipes were really, really good. So I thought I would share them with you. And with that being said, guys, I'm gonna hop into the kitchen and share with you what I made. So the first thing that I'm going to be prepping out is this blueberry cornbread. That's a perfect quick breakfast pastry for having with my coffee in the morning. And to make this, I will use some ground flax meal, which will act as the egg and bond everything together. And then I'll need some cornmeal, so I'm going to be using medium grind. And then I'll need some gluten-free flour, which right here I'm just using some millet flour. And then I'll also need some plant milk, and I used rice milk earlier and it didn't work, so you'll see why later, but use almond milk if you try this recipe. Again, you'll see why in a minute. I also need a lemon, some baking soda, some soy-free vegan butter, some applesauce, a little bit of salt, some raw unrefined sugar, and some blueberries. The first thing that I'm going to do is set my oven to 350 degrees. Then while that's heating up, I'm going to make something called a flax egg, which is just made by mixing some water with a tablespoon of the flax seeds that have been ground up. And that'll create this like gelatinous paste that will act like an egg and bond everything together. Then taking my almond milk, I'm going to juice half of my lemon right into it and stir it until it curdles. You want this to happen, and as I mentioned before, I tried using rice milk and it didn't curdle, so just be aware of that if you try this recipe. I'll then add the baking soda in, and taking my soy-free vegan butter, I'm going to melt it in the microwave and then put my sugar in it once it's melted, and then whisk it until it's all blended together. After that, I'll add in my applesauce and my flax egg, and in a larger bowl, I'll add in my almond milk mixture. After that, I will go ahead and fold in my blueberries and add in a dash of salt, and then I'm going to fold in my millet flour and cornmeal. I don't want to overmix this, but only fold the ingredients enough to blend them together. And then taking a pan, I am going to grease it up with a little bit of soy-free vegan butter. And then I'm going to pour my batter into it and bake it for about 35 minutes. Once it was done baking, I let it cool down a bit, and then I cut it into slices that are perfect for grabbing and having with a cup of coffee in the morning. These blueberries are so juicy and just really set off the cornbread. And though the cornbread was a little bit crumbly, it was so good. Just make sure that you have plenty of napkins and maybe even a little bit of vegan butter to put over the top of them. Okay, so for my lunch, I'm going to prep out these collard green wraps that are insanely easy to make and also just insanely delicious. They are also loaded with whole plant-based foods to nourish you and keep you powered up throughout the day. To make these wraps, I need some collard greens, some tomato, a ripe avocado, some roasted red pepper style hummus, a cucumber. I'm using an English cucumber which has a thinner rind than regular cucumbers, and some quinoa. To begin, I'm cutting up my cucumber into thin strips and slicing up my avocado and tomato. Once I've done that, I'll be adding in a cup of quinoa into my rice cooker with twice the amount of water, so 2 cups, and letting that do its thing while I prep out the collard greens. To do this, I want to take out as much of the thick stalk in the middle of the leaves as possible by running my knife carefully down them, and this will help the collard green to be a little bit more pliable. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water into a cooking pan, and once it comes to a boil, I'm going to blanch the collard green leaves quickly for a few seconds. You don't have to do this, but it really does help the leaves bend and be a lot more pliable and easier to wrap up, so that's what I'm doing here. About that time, my quinoa will be done and ready to season, so I will go ahead and add in the juice of half a lime, some salt, and finally some chili powder for a little bit of heat. After that, it's time to start the wraps, so I'll be building them up on one side of the leaf, layering in all the ingredients and making sure that it's not too full to wrap. Then very carefully, I'll wrap this up until I have a little roll that's nice and compact. I went ahead and continued this process until I had a few rolls, and then I'll use a sharp knife to slice these rolls in half. These wraps are super convenient for taking with you for a healthy vegan and gluten-free lunch, and they also taste amazing. You can always add whatever you want to them, but this is the way I've been making them, and so far it's my favorite. Okay, so finally for dinner, I'll be prepping out a couple of taco bowls, and again, these are just so easy to make. To begin, I'm going to be using some gluten-free Spanish rice, which you can always make yourself, but honestly, I just did not feel like making it myself. And then some refried beans. I'm using refried, but feel free to use some whole beans if you would prefer. Okay, so I'll begin by cooking my Spanish rice in my rice cooker, and then I'll move on to thinning out my refried beans on the stove by first opening them up and putting them into a pot on low-medium heat. Then I'll stir in 1/4 cup of rice milk to thin them out a bit, and while those are slowly warming, I'll take a green bell pepper and slice it up to be sauteed. Just heating up a little bit of vegan butter on the stove and dropping those bell pepper slices in there, I'll saute these until they're cooked just a bit without being overdone or mushy. I like them to be a little firm and crisp still. Okay, so moving on to making the world's easiest guacamole, I'll be taking a ripe avocado and de-pitting it, and then throwing it into a bowl. Then I'll add in the juice of half of a lime, a little bit of salt, a little bit of chili, and some garlic powder, and then using a whisk to mash it all up. A fork also works for this, but if you have a whisk on hand, it works really, really well. Once the guacamole is ready, I'll go ahead and build up my taco bowls. I'm starting with my Spanish rice, and I'm leaving a little well in the middle of the rice to put my bean mixture in. And then you can add really whatever you want, but I'm going to be putting in some black olives, and then my fresh guacamole, my bell peppers, and a little bit of red salsa. Sauteed onion and mushrooms would also be good in here, or you could even add romaine lettuce to make it a taco salad. Customize this taco bowl however you want to make it your own, but this is the way I've been making mine, and I just can't get enough of them. The combination of all the ingredients and the rice and the beans and everything just make it so good and really filling and satisfying, and I just absolutely love this. Okay guys, so this is what I prepped out for the next couple of days. All of the meals are not only vegan, but gluten and soy free and super duper yummy. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care and have an awesome week.